to the great Jerry West.
Breaking news this morning. We're not going to deal with a trivia question or anything like that. We have incredibly important news, and I'm sorry to be the one to tell you, but one of the greatest figures in the history of American sports, one of the greatest players, and one of the most important people in the history of basketball in this or any country has died. Jerry West has died at the age of 86. It was announced by the Los Angeles Clippers that he's been working for today. West, where do you begin to describe a person's career? It has been argued, and I would argue it loudly, that there aren't a handful of people who had more significant careers in basketball than Jerry West did. First, as a player, one of the greatest collegiate players ever, an Olympian, one of the greatest NBA players ever. Of course, he is the logo, the silhouette that you see every single time you see the NBA logo. That is a silhouette of Jerry West. He was one of the great players of all time, scoring points in enormous numbers at a time where there were no three-point shots in basketball, leading the Lakers to 9 NBA Finals in his 13 seasons, winning just once. But interestingly, to this day, still the only person ever to be named the MVP of a Finals that his team lost. He finished his playing career as one of the greatest players ever. He was on the 50 greatest players list, and that certainly isn't even beginning to do him justice. He's in the handful of greatest players that ever touched a basketball in their lives. He then went on to a brief but successful career in coaching, and then an enormous career as an executive, particularly running the Los Angeles Lakers. His acquisitions included James Worthy, Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant, hiring Phil Jackson as their coach. I don't think it's overstating it to say basketball as we know it today has been shaped by Jerry West about as much as it has been by any other person that ever lived, and that is with the exclusion of no one. I'm doing this off the top of my head here, and there's so many numbers and all that sort of thing that we can bring to you. Let's come out here to the group, and again, we are just getting this news now, so there is so much to be said about this. Wendy, I will start with you as one who has loved the game all of your life. I'm trying to come up with ways to capture for a younger audience that may not be fully aware.
Giant, an absolute giant. His impact on the game over the years is maybe as great as anyone's ever has, because you look at this guy who in the 60s was a star, in the 70s was a star, in the 80s and 90s was an executive star. I mean, not only did he stage some of the greatest battles of the NBA Finals history, Celtics, Lakers, he built the Lakers. He was the guy that brought Shaquille O'Neal to Los Angeles. He was the guy that talked the Warriors into not trading Klay Thompson. He threatened to resign his advisor role if they were going to trade Klay Thompson for Kevin Love. He was a big piece of building the Warriors dynasty. Even recently with the Clippers, he was a very valued member of the Clippers front office. I mean, this is a guy who was as relevant in the 2020s as he was in the 1960s. He's a legend in West Virginia, one of the greatest sons in the history of the state, one of the greatest contributors to the history of the Lakers franchise. I mean, honestly, if you just listed his accomplishments, it would take hours. And not only that, in the times that I talked to him over the years, Greeny, one of the things about him is how he reacted to loss. He suffered some of the worst and most difficult losses of anybody in history. Emblematic was that winning the MVP in a series that he lost. And him talking about loss and how it drove him and how it affected him was some of the most invigorating and educational conversations I've ever had. This is a